I am Bhuvna Subramanian, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Randstad India. It's a pleasure to be here today talking on this very important subject of why it's important for corporate India to have more women. If you just take some of the numbers, right, and doing what you guys do at Jobs for Her, just by getting women who are ready to get back to work, just by introducing them back into work, will be richer by 27%. That's what the statistics says. So it's a great thing that you guys are doing. And it's also about creating those role models for women who aspire to take on corporate work and leadership roles in the corporate India. And it's when you have a diversified and holistic management style, and just like how Prerna mentioned, it's not just the gender diversity, we need to start focusing on, rest of the diversity as well. And you would see that, it brings in a lot more better governance standards, a very different perspective. The conversation around the table changes, include, millennials, include different kinds of, diversity, then the entire conversation changes, the direction changes, the perspective changed. And it also, you would have seen, like, take examples like Biocon, Kiran's, right? It's a $1 billion company today. Malika has made TAFE as one of the largest tractor manufacturers in volume itself. Zareen was able to change Standard Chartered in just 2 years. Shikha Sharma, she quadrupled, stock prices of Axis Bank during her time as the CEO. These are just few examples, and this is just, we're just scraping the top at this point in time. But to me, it's not just about the financial aspect alone, right? It's not just the business imperative, but the diversity in thinking, creating that employee engagement, the development of the employee, and creating that much more dedication at work. That's what diversity brings to the table.
The question that I'll come around the table with now is, what was the biggest roadblock that you faced in your career?
A couple of, as Prerna was saying, themes that all of us go through in our lives, right? But definitely I was in my own way, like at least earlier in the career, I was doing, there were jobs at career, choices that I had made where I was doing, the jobs of 3 people. There was so much work to do, and it was really strenuous for me. But I also, thought that I should go and ask what I deserved in terms of remuneration or an increment, right? And I was told no, right? So that kind of, impacted me quite a bit. It took a long time for me to get over that and go back and ask for what I deserve. It created a lot of self-doubt. I'm talking about like maybe 15, 20 years ago, but I was bold enough to go and ask, but to take that no was like a big beating in my life. And but over a period of time, I went back, like a year later, and asked for it again, and I got it. So it also gave me a learning that, that 1 year, I started looking at why was I refused, what I deserved. And then I started having those conversations within the organization and, putting down, what I was really doing and what value I was bringing to the table, to the organization, and what profits they were making because of what I was doing in the organization. And that kind of opened their eyes, because I realized sometimes these biases are, like unconscious. They don't know what you're doing. You're not presenting yourself. You're not actually putting your work out there. You're not taking pride in what you're doing and, putting it on display. So many a times, having the conversation helps in any organization. That was definitely one thing. And definitely, I mean, there were times when I would not even take leave. I would not take breaks. I would not take annual holidays with my family. Even during the holidays, I think maybe like 5 years ago onwards is when I've stopped taking my laptop on holidays, right? So I had to take that conscious decision of nothing is going to break down, right, if I'm not working during the holidays. So I think the rules apply to women as much as it applies to men. When they are on the phone, we get very upset. When they are working, we get very upset. But we do the same mistakes, right? So took those conscious decisions as well. And third theme that I've really looked at is, I've kind of gone through is that, this doesn't, and this kind of I've seen, thrown at women largely. This doesn't work here. Your ideas cannot be implemented. It costs a lot of money. This is not our organization's way of doing it, especially when you move into a new role. There are roadblocks that are put across saying that, okay, this is not our way, right? But I realize that, I just hear them out. And if it's for the benefit of the organization or my people, I've just gone ahead and did them anyway. And, that's been like, I mean, yes, there have been roadblocks, but I also kind of, learned to address them in my own way, at my own pace, and get over this.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for that, Purna. The second question at the table would be, what program or policy or initiative at your company has contributed significantly to increasing a woman's rise up the ladder? And the third question is, what change do you feel is necessary for women and companies to make in order to increase women at leadership levels, especially in a post-COVID world, right? We are living in a world that has, I don't know, been turned upon its head. So there's no way we can leave that out of the conversation. I'd really appreciate it if you would include that in your answer as well.
I come from an organization which is kind of leading the way here, that 47% amongst our core employees are women, and 30% of the leadership positions are held by women in Randstad. India alone, this is just the India number. The global number and the average is much, much higher in Randstad. And there is, yes, we've constantly also been named in the Global Power 150 Women in Staffing list. The industry itself kind of gives that atmosphere and, creates that nurturing, culture. So that is one advantage. But these numbers have not just happened, right? It's been conscious. It's been a very, very programmatic approach to diversity in the organization. We are also part of the Workplace Pride, the nonprofit foundation, which is about greater acceptance of LGBT population in the workplace. So that's one thing that we do consciously. Succession planning, right? That's a very, very critical area where things happen. And leadership roles during the annual talent review exercise. So very mindful of ensuring that there is a healthy women representation across the leadership. And this is both across the middle level and the top level. So that's something that we have as a program. And I'm not getting into cliche stuff like flexibility and all that. Those are policies that are, I think most organizations have kind of at least adapted now, right? So that's anyway there. But we also have something called the self-forward, true self-forward movement within Randstad, which is our D&I and belonging philosophy, right? So things like this kind of makes it a very visible program for the entire organization to consume it. We not only invite women leaders from India, but across borders to interact with other leaders, and we also bring in male leaders to the table, and that's the conversation. So they participate in the conversation. They're part of the discussion. They're part of the decision making as well at every step of the way. And we all know that if I'm saying 30% of the leadership position is held by women, 70% is by men, right? So they do play a huge role in the decision making and changing the constituency of the organization itself. So that's something. And this year we are actually launching the Women Mentoring Program, which is entry to mid-level career women identified as key talent. And every leader in the top leadership position in Randstad India is taking up a few mentors. And that's again a conscious program that we have taken up this year. What can women do to make this better is definitely, first stand up for themselves, right? And invest in themselves, upgrade skills, and apply and reinforce learning at work or in life, right? It doesn't matter where you're applying that, but just have that conscious learning, constant learning culture within you, and the ability to adapt continuously. That's one thing. And I had spoken about this in another roundtable as well, where raise your hands, right? When you see something that you like or a position that you think you should be in, raise your hands. Many times women don't really put up their hand saying, I think I deserve that position and I think you should consider.
Yeah, Absolutely.
Somebody else to select them, right? So I think raise your hands and don't overthink and get in your own way. It's okay. At the most, they're going to say no. You can keep trying. It's fine, right? And you're smart enough to figure things out as you move forward. So just plunge in, take that, challenge up, and keep moving. On the organization side, what I believe they can do better and kind of bring in a change is to take on education programs at the institution level. I'm talking about education institutions where that's where the gap starts, right? The skill gap, the education gap in terms of, I mean, whether it's STEM or any other skill area, right? That's where the gap starts for women in India. So take up those courses and start filling that gap, and that's when you'll be able to bring in a larger pool to corporate India as well. So that's what I think we can do better.
Thank you so much for that, Poorna.